G'day, mate.
G'day, mate. How you going?
Good. So we're going to talk about bikes today.
Yeah, I reckon that'd be a cool subject for us to have a bit of a natter about.
All right. So what do you want to talk about to get started?
I just thought we could. You and I have been around the sport for a fair while. We've owned a few different bikes over the years, and I guess talk about some of the bikes that you've owned or we've owned. Some of your maybe your top three bikes that you've owned, your favourite ones, and maybe some bikes that you've wish you'd bought but or owned and haven't actually done it.
All right. So let's do your top three bikes that you've owned, starting from number three. Oh, no, no particular order.
No particular order. Okay. Oh, all right. I'll start from three. So my number three would have been my S&M Homes. I think it was a 94 model, 93. Trevor Weber would probably know. It didn't have the 990 mounts. It had the normal rear
Candy
chainstay
mounts.
candy mounts. Was originally I got the color. It was bone or like beige with green decals, and I changed it to red and ran the fluoro decals on it. It was a really nice bike. As they were designed, it was an all rounder. Raced it, dirt jumped it, rode it at the skate park. It was a pretty bulletproof bike. So, and sadly, it was stolen. So I would have actually hung on to that bike. I was never really ever wanting to sell it. It just got stolen. So yeah, it's a bit of a pang in my heart.
So is it just like the Holmeses were pretty weighty, they were heavy.
Hmm.
So there would have been a bit of a beast to throw around. Is it just the memories associated with it that make it one of your favorites, or is it you just love that bike?
I did actually love. I did love how it rode. I mean, it just it just suited me, I guess, because I'm a bigger guy. And it was, yeah, I used to love throwing it around, and the geometry was pretty spot on, for racing and jumping, and yeah, I guess, yeah, memories. Yeah, you definitely have memories associated with bikes, and I guess it takes you back to a different time, especially the '90s with S&M Homes, and I guess also being associated with riding for that brand under a certain, with Julian and all those sort of guys. So I guess it does have that association. So, and I would have to say number two would be my Robinson Patriot. Uh, One of the last, yeah, I think it was like a 99 model. So basically just before GT slash the firm kind of closed up shop and got sold off, which was pretty sad, but that was an absolute amazing bike. The way it looked, the blue with the red, that whole factory look was an awesome bike. I actually looked up the specs, and it was actually a little bit short, even though it was an XL. It only had a 21-inch top tube. But when I first came back in 2000, that was the bike I had, and yeah, had a lot of fun. And yeah, that was a really good bike, looks wise and ride wise. And without saying too much, but yeah, my favorite bike
Oh,
obviously
wait,
is my
wait, wait. Do we need to
wait.
do a drum? Do we need to do a drum roll for your favorite?
Oh, do you have a drum roll?
No.
I thought you might have had one of those little boards where you could insert a drum roll.
So maybe a big reveal. Just put your hands together and go, ah.
Oh,
So
don't want to scare everybody.
what's going to
So
be
my number
number
one,
one?
my number one, my number one. Actually, I kind of secretly have a dual number one,
Well,
and one of those. It's actually not a bike I own. One of them is not a bike that I own, but you currently own it.
oh,
So my number one bike is my current Supercross 450 Gen 2, the Blue Max. Absolutely love that bike. It's a bit of a rare bird being in blue. You don't see too many of them, but yeah, I just absolutely love it. Get a lot of positive feedback about it. So yeah, pretty stoked. Yeah, rides as good as it looks, and of course it's got all the cool profile gear all over it, so makes it even better.
obviously a lot lighter than the Holmes.
Definitely, yeah. I've had a few people ride it, and they're quite surprised of how actually stiff and light the bike is actually. And I guess with technology and, Tange chromoly, these days they can make bikes as nearly light as aluminium and still use chromoly.
And that'll be one you maintain in your collection forever.
Definitely, as long as I can hang on to it for sure. And the other equal one, as you probably already know, is your G6E Cruiser.
Oh, yeah.
I absolutely love that bike. And you did reluctantly lend it to me for a while I was waiting for a bike. And I absolutely loved riding that bike.
I believe I needed to come up and get it from you to pry it out of your filthy little hands.
No, no, you would have. No, that never happens. No, that's not a true story.
I was playing Repo Man.
No,
Give it back.
I actually think that you actually drove to Bendigo to deliver it to me.
Oh, that's probably more the case.
Yeah. Drove up in the little RAV4 and opened the back door, and voila, there was this amazing cruiser.
So I don't know how you can have two number ones and still have a number 3. Don't you need to bump number 3 off the list?
No, number 3 is staying. Thank you. Yeah. I'm making the rules.
What about
you? Might have.
Hey, go ahead.
No, it's fine. You talk.
No, after you.
After me. I know that you have a
shovel.
I know you have a cup that says Mr. Right, but you're not always right.
I must be.
It's such a little cup for a big man.
That's all right. That's not about the size. It's how you use it.
Exactly. And what you put it in.
Show us the size of your cup. Hey, see? It's not about size.
Yeah, I'm more heavily medicated than you. So.
I don't know. I'm getting up there these days.
Yeah, cool. So, anyway, what were you going to ask before you were rudely interrupted?
Probably.
You have no idea.
Probably another crap question.
No.
What the favourite bike is that you've never owned? But I think you answered that, didn't you, with the G6E?
Yeah, I would love to own that bike.
But you've always talked about Carbon Cruiser as well.
The MV Black, that would be an awesome piece of kit to have. Yeah, I definitely like the look. Definitely has a bit, because the colorway it's more carbon with just a little bit of color, so it's kind of stealthy. It'd be even nice just to, I guess people are pretty precious of their bikes, and understandably, but it'd be even nice to have a ride. Just to see what it feels like. I know the geometry is the same as my MV V5, but it would just be good to feel how it rides and how it handles being super stiff and super light. I mean, I've ridden your Carbon and absolutely love it. You have to pry that out of my hands too every time I ride it. You've been kind enough to even lend it to me for a whole day, so I had to wear all your gear though. I had your helmet, I had your jersey, and actually wore your pants too. So it was like your stunt double.
It wasn't the first time you tried to get into my pants either.
That's true. Why do you think I hang around? But anyway, so
it's the cuddles, isn't it?
It's the cuddles. So, that's why we end up sharing rooms when we go away. But there's definitely a few bikes that I would like to own, and I guess the Power Light Cockpit was one of them. And
what about, you had an Auburn? You keep talking about, maybe one day getting another one of those.
Yeah, definitely the Auburn CR20R. And Trevor Webber actually has a black one that looks exactly. When we're at Casey at the state titles, it was there, and it was pretty much mirror to mirror exactly what I had back in the day, and it was like a time warp. It was like a time capsule. And he goes, "Go for a ride, ride it as much as you like." And I was riding around in the car park, and I was like, "This is so good." And as you know, with his bikes, he's very meticulous and has them error correct, and it was awesome. So
as a nostalgic BMXer, if you could have any frame from the 80s, what would it be?
From the 80s?
Yeah.
I would have to say probably either maybe a PK Ripper or a even a quad angle. Always loved that baby blue color. That was always a cool frame.
I don't remember any quad angles from the 80s that were baby blue. Most of the ones I saw were black, I
Black,
think. Yeah.
black, yeah,
Maybe
black,
chrome.
polished. I remember seeing someone with a yeah. I mean, there was a lot of guys probably custom coloring them too. I did remember seeing a red one somewhere. I can't. Maybe at the Werribee Christmas Classic. Maybe there was a red one. Might have been a guy from interstate. So those guys always had pretty trick stuff that we slowly filtered down to Victoria. But yeah, look, and you could even open a whole different segment just for the cool bikes we could have owned in the 80s. I mean, I owned a GT Pro Series, and that was a pretty cool piece of kit. And the main reason why I bought it is because Tommy Brackens had an ad in the back of BMX Action, and I think I looked at it every night before I went to bed. And I worked my little, worked my school holidays off to get the money, go down to PRM. Shout out to Patrick Dillon, and bought a GT Pro Series.
So you sold your wares for the whole summer?
I did sell my wares. I worked in a meat factory.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
How's
did.
that for full circle?
I know, right? Yeah, exactly. Basically the same company. So yeah. And when I remember I walked out the last time, and I'm like, I'm never working here ever again. I'm off, done. And guess where I am? The universe is having a bit of a laugh. I'll give you the hot tip.
I bet it's a bit easier on you now. You're more higher up, more senior.
Yeah, being a COVID officer and all. Yeah, that's it. So, what about you? What about you for your top three?
I could never do a top three. I'm not that kind of guy. There's a lot of standout bikes that I've owned. Um, Obviously, my Gen 2 450 that I had was probably my favorite ever, I'd say.
Oh, really? Wow.
One. I don't know why. Just such a comfortable bike to ride, and I couldn't stop taking photos of it. I think I really liked the color scheme, but everyone's going to say that about the bike they've chosen and customized. But yeah, just such a nice bike, and because I don't just race, I've got the track in the backyard, and we go and try and ride some small to medium-sized dirt jumps. It was kind of a good all-rounder.
Yeah.
But that said, I like pulling out the Envy Black from time to time. It rides differently, I'm getting older, so I kind of feel every bump and lump, so I have to let the tire pressure down. But I still, I still take that out and ride it in the backyard, but just not as often, obviously. The Gen 1 450 prototype cruiser, I love riding that. I think I must have had that together for about 6 or 7 years now, and it's still going strong. But
yeah, it is that.
But there's a whole lot of honourable mentions. Like I've got a couple of mid-school quad angles, and I used to really love riding one of those. So I think I took one overseas with me the first time I went to race in America. And even Colin Stiles pulled me up and said, "Hey, I've been wanting to buy one of these. Can I borrow it?" So I was only using it on the weekends, and then finding different ways of getting it to the next track the next weekend. So he took it one week, and when I got it back, the handlebars had been shifted because he didn't like the Chicago style setup that I had going on.
And he's taller than you too, isn't he? Is
Can't
he taller
remember.
than you?
It'd only be
He's
about an inch. Yeah, it was only
yeah.
about an inch.
Good old transit videos.
But yeah, that was one. But I think that's because of the memories tied to it, just traveling with it. Obviously, I was really fond of the yellow UL, Supercross UL.
Oh yeah.
And also that was because I travelled with that one as well and got some good results on it. And still, really good looking bike.
It's
I had
aged well, a bit like you.
it's a bit beat up, you mean? So I had a CW Phase 1 when I was probably in my mid-teens.
Yeah.
and I literally rode that to death. I tore the front end off it, but that was
I remember that was a really good looking bike. Yeah, I remember that bike.
I remember buying that from Pat down at PRM. It was one of the 6, I think, that were brought into the country at the time. And then shortly after we bought that, I got sponsored by CW, so it was a pretty cool. It's got memories attached to it.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and then after I broke that, I got and I was on the CW team. I got a lavender-coloured Pistol Pete, which I rode at the '86 World. So that was another one that has a lot of memories attached to it.
Where were the '86 Worlds?
Slough.
Was that it? Slough in England, yeah.
And I had a JMC
Wow.
Black Shadow. Actually, I had 2 JMC Black Shadows. I don't know, like I remember them being a beautiful bike. I don't remember it being a good bike to ride. Obviously, back then, because it was early '80s,
Yep.
wasn't much in the way of jumps on a track. If you wanted to jump, you basically launched off a corner after racing was over. But it was a very, very nice looking bike. Can't think of any other standouts. Just almost every bike that I've ridden from Supercross I've loved, which is why I still ride them. Yeah, maybe I need to get another one.
I think so. Maybe there's a 6-bar out there with your name on it.
Yeah, I don't know. I reckon if I got a 6-bar, I'd just put it next to my other ones and just have it in the collection. I don't know if I'd race it, and I'd think if I was going to spend money, I'd want to get a lot of use out of the bike. And so there's a lot of bikes sitting in the back room that I could just pump up the tires and ride. So I don't know. I don't know if I want to keep doing that.
Yeah,
It's all about the racing for me, not about the riding for me, not necessarily about the Carpet Queen kind of collection. And I'm running out of carpet anyway.
We'll just build another room on. Yeah, we'll turn the shed into a man cave.
I should do that one day. It's not being used for anything else. Maybe storing garbage or something.
Yeah, we'll turn it into a man cave, and then we could sit down there and drink iced coffee and
classic
chocolate milk. Classic milk. We could
import it from interstate.
Interstate. Yeah, well, we can't drive over there. I'm sure someone over there, maybe Brett Malik or someone, could send some us over. That'd be cool. Be a bit costly, but yeah. Do an illegal border crossing. Yeah, no, there's definitely some good bikes out there for sure. And I guess even myself getting a new frame, a Supercross UL myself, it's definitely wanting to ride it and get the use out of it also with a classic looking chromo frame.
Yeah.
So yeah, I understand with the 6-bar. 6-bar is a little bit more, a bit more nostalgic and a bit more special.
That's not to say I don't want one. It's just if I was to buy one, I think I'd tip narrowly towards the UL. Although I would like to see what a 6-bar would look like built up with all the modern race stuff on it. I'm sure I'll get the opportunity with people around me buying them.
So watch this space, maybe.
Yeah. Well, who knows? You know what I'm like. Next week I might change my mind completely and just get one.
Yeah, this is true because you have the cup. You're still right. Yeah. No, they're definitely a good-looking bike, and I did notice during the week that Bill's also released a Pro Fork with the retro decals, which would just be such a fitting build piece for sure.
I like the Pro Forks. I've got pretty much every generation of the Supercross Pro Fork. It's just that real classic look about them, almost as classic as the landing gear fork from SE, but just not as chunky, not as heavy.
Yeah.
I've always liked them, and I think they stopped making them about 2 or 3 years ago. So to see them coming back, made by Tange, I think.
Yes, Tange, yeah.
With the super chrome job that Supercross do, I think I'll have to grab a set just to hang on the wall because I love those things.
Yeah, triple show chrome as Bill calls it.
Yeah.
And the lightning holes on the side, which is always a classic.
Yeah.
Classic Supercross look also.
Yeah.
And Tange, I guess Tange used to do that also with their forks. So definitely some cool stuff. And even like SE doing their retro style stuff also, which is always cool to see.
Yeah, I was just looking at the STR1 20-inch this morning. I'm not that nostalgic that I'd want one. But if I was a retired BMXer, I think that's the kind of bike I'd want to cruise around on, just to
Yeah.
go for a ride up the road with Urson Ripley sort of thing. But yeah, there's so much more I'd like to spend my $1,500 on right now. Like getting the hell out of Victoria and going for some more road trips once that's possible.
Oh, yeah, please bring it on soon. But we will get there. We just have to be patient, and I guess, yeah, it will happen, and we can manage it. And I mean, someone at my work sort of said maybe COVID will just end up being like a seasonal thing. We'll have a vaccine or something like that, and it won't necessarily go away, but we'll be able to control it better, a bit like the flu and stuff. So there is definite light at the end of the tunnel. We just have to kind of just hang out a little bit and just, yeah, reach out to your friends and make sure everybody around you's doing okay, because there's definitely people out there struggling.
So what about bikes that you would like to ride but haven't yet? Like anything that sort of catches your eye that you think, oh, I wouldn't mind giving that one a bit of a bash?
Oh, not so much a bash, because I have to give it back to the owner. Yeah, I mean, I rode earlier this year? A rider from my club here in Bendigo bought a Formula Carbon. And he was kind enough. He even put flat pedals on it for me. He said, take it for a ride and tell me what you thought or think. And it was actually really nice. And so shout out to Ryan Bice for letting me ride his brand new carbon weapon. And it was actually a really nice bike to ride. I even jumped it into the last corner at Bendigo, the step up in the last corner. I just felt at home on it. It was very well set up. And I mean, he's a big guy. I think he's probably as tall as you. So he's a pretty tall guy, big guy. So I just felt at home on it, except for the brake lever was on the wrong side. But yeah, very, very nice bike. I've ridden some other carbons in the past, like a GT carbon, and I found that they were really, really rigid. And like the Supercross, there was a little bit more give. So yeah, it was a really nice bike to ride. Another nice bike I've ridden is the new evolution of the Crisp frames. I've ridden one of those. Also, another local here in Bendigo. I'm a bit of a bike scab.
Bike hoe.
Bit of a bike hoe. But yeah, I just like trying different bikes. Be interesting to ride one of those Wayweases also.
I wish I knew how to pronounce that. I think it's Weirwis.
Weirwis. And I actually did see what their logo means actually on the internet.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I saw that this week as well.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting motto. It's kind of cool actually. So something a bit different. I know that sort of those Asian cultures like to have a spiritual motto and all that sort of stuff, a bit like Toyota and all those sort of things. There's always something very behind their motto. So no, that was cool. They're an interesting looking bike. I mean, a lot of people are riding them, especially like in Europe. So it'd be interesting to maybe ride one of those. So probably won't happen, but yeah, look, it'd be cool to just even have a ride. What else is there?
So you're swinging heavily towards carbon there.
No, not really. I tell you, actually, another friend of mine here in Bendigo has bought a Rift chromoly frame. Now that would be an interesting bike to ride, also. So yeah, and look, I'm not a full-on carbon rider, but I guess I see a lot of people riding it, so I'm kind of intrigued by how it feels when it rides. And I guess there's a lot more carbon out there, and the technology is so advanced now. So it's kind of, I guess I'm riding carbon bikes because there's more of it out there. But I mean, chromo is where it's at for sure.
So if you're going to spend your hard-earned cash on anything, you just go for another chromo, or do you think you'd actually lash out and spend the extra on a carbon?
Okay, so you have to. That question is either at the responsible Shaun or the non-responsible Shaun. So the non-responsible Shaun would say, deep down, I would love a carbon frame. But the responsible Shaun says, you need to ride a chromo bike because, you don't need to be making stupid mistakes on a carbon.
Well, there's also the fact that you can get a chromoly frame, which has the same geometry, which is quite durable, and then you can also get an air ticket to say the Grands for the same price
Yeah,
carbon, right?
yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's appealing to the responsible Sean. And yeah, I would definitely, yeah, carbon. Yeah, it's kind of in the fantasy league, and it's good to look at. I definitely understand. If I was a young hotshot, yeah, for sure, I'd probably, yeah, you'd see an MV Black parked over there on my over there on my carpet.
You just have to
But
settle for being hot, I guess, really, don't you?
this is true. It's a curse, but hey, But yeah, look, I mean, like I said, I've had a few people ride my 450, and they've said they're actually quite a light and stiff frame. So maybe Chromoly is catching up. Maybe it will catch on again. There is a few guys in the States that are racing double A that are riding Chromoly frames. So there's a few guys riding. I think there's a guy that rides a standard. I
I think
think.
as far as the industry is concerned, it's not really an ongoing thing. But obviously, there's a market for it because Standard and S&M are still doing them on a regular, and then I think Rift did a short run of chromoly frames. Truth do a short run of chromoly frames, and obviously Supercross as well do their
And
limited edition runs every few years.
and Colt do a race Chromoly
Oh
frame
yeah,
also.
yeah, Colt, and then Colony did a short run as well. I'm pretty sure there was another street brand which I can't. Sub Rosa did some as well.
Yeah, and I think Sunday did a race frame for a little while.
I don't know. I didn't see that one.
Yeah, and obviously McNeil also.
Oh, that was a
Jay,
long time ago.
yeah, a long time ago the old Moto one, but yeah, I mean James Laudier still rides one, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so and he's pretty handy on a bike, and you see him out the front a fair bit. So it does come down to sometimes just what the rider's comfortable, and if they're comfortable on whatever it is, whether it's alloy, carbon, or chromo, they're going to do well anyway.
You could put a 12-inch balance bike under James, and he'd still,
Shred,
put it through its
yeah,
paces.
100%, yeah, 100%, yeah, and yeah, I mean him doing an X up on an old mongoose over the Knox doubles is one of the craziest things I've ever seen in a flannelette shirt. I actually still have that picture somewhere, and it's just epic. Like on his dad's old mongoose, massive X up over the Knox dubs. I mean, come on. Doesn't get any more cooler than that. Definitely props for that, James. If you're out there, maybe you might even take the time to watch this. But yeah, that was rad as. Cool. So yeah,
so
what about you? What about you? Hey, sorry.
I was going to say that's it for bikes, but you got a question for me.
Oh, I just when we talked off camera before, you said you wouldn't mind owning a Claiborne, and I would agree with that also.
So I think the first time I went to the States, I met Richard Bunt at South Park.
Nice.
And I'm a bit of a fan of Travis Trewson, especially from when he's on Claiborne and got one of his. I actually got the jersey that he wore at one of the downhill races. That I think it was not sure if it was a Vans Triple Crown, but it was one of the first downhill races over at Westwood.
Yeah, it was the Vans Triple Crown one.
Over at Woodwood, yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been a fan of Claiborne. Actually, I own a stem as well, and I've always wanted to have a frame. So I don't know. It's just that unusual front end that I like. I haven't ridden one yet, so I'm not sure if it rides well. But yeah, it's just a bit of a fan of Travis, like I said, and so I've been a fan of Claiborne for a while. And maybe now that it's owned by John Sawyer's consortium, that we might see a few more of them out there. But so
That
there's
would be
that.
cool.
I think the Standard is always one that I've wanted to look at as well. And just because it's a high-end race bike, handmade in America, that sort of thing, reliable race bike, and they look great. I
They
kind of
do.
like the way you can customize them too if you want to. But I've been looking on the second-hand market for both Claibornes and Standards, and they never come up. So it might be one of those things where one day down the line, I might look at my bike room and see which bike I want to move on, and then replace it with a standard maybe. But it's just
one of those things.
One of those things. There was another. Oh, I'd been desperate to get myself a side hack, just to cruise around on.
Ripley could deliver papers with you.
Yeah, I'm past my paperboy days. Originally, it was to throw Ripley in the baby seat next to me and go for a ride up to the general store, which is only like 500 meters away. But she's getting a bit older for that now, so maybe she can start pushing, or maybe I'll sit in the side and she can ride.
Retired BMXer.
Yeah, so Trevor Webber, if you're watching, I want that side hack before my 50th.
Wow.
Well, he's had a few years. Now should have his pipe bender.
Yeah, wow. You've got to my 50th, which is when?
No, 6 weeks.
Is it 6 weeks, really?
Must be, yeah.
Yeah, something stupid like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not far away.
Maybe we should go for a double banger Grands party next year, maybe.
We'll see.
We'll take Gary with us. He can be our tour guide. I'm sure he'll...
I don't know, the Grands hasn't been like the place I want to go. It just always seems so busy, and I'm not a fan of big crowds, but I'm sure one day
I'll look after you, I promise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's probably it. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other bits and pieces that I've wanted to ride over the years and never got around to, or bikes that kind of interest me now, but nothing that comes to mind straight away. Oh, one old school bike I used to love was made in Bendigo, the custom made Anti. Yeah. So Bill Anderson made a good bike back in the day. I think I had a Titan, which I cracked, replaced that with another Titan and cracked that. So in the end, I just said to Bill, hey, look, I want a frame that's a little bit longer. I think I might have gone half an inch longer. Same geometry, but he built it out of Reynolds tubing.
Wow.
So it's one that obviously I had a lot of time on and loved, but I can't remember what I did with it. I must have moved it on.
It's sitting somewhere.
Sold it to some guy in Seam.
What color was it?
Black.
Because
it was the biggest frame he made. So as a joke, he put a special decal on it and called it the Bull Ant.
The Bull Ants. big Anti. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Bull Anti. Yeah, nice. Clever. I like it. Because I remember Craig Wally Walchuk used to ride one, and look, if that guy can't destroy that frame, it was definitely... I mean, we all know how he rode and still rides. And I guess, he was a bike destroyer, and just because it was either on or off with him, and just loved sending it. And yeah, Bill obviously built him as such a good frame because he rode an Anti for ages. I remember it was blue and white.
I must admit, mine had a second life. It was a bit of a cat more than a bull ant, but I was training at Puckapunya one time and nosed in too heavily on a double and bent the front end up. And because Bill was only in Bendigo, I sent the frame to him. He cut it up and welded a new front end on it for me, which is exactly what I needed. At the time, I think it must have been early mid-90s or something. Yeah, it would have been around then. Frames out of America was super expensive. Shipping was expensive. It just got ridiculous. So having someone local that could do that made it way more affordable. And I think at the time I might have even been at uni, so money was a bit of a struggle anyway.
Yeah, I actually did see Bill a few years ago in Bendigo, still welding and making stuff. He was making engine frames for the Bushmaster army vehicle, so they could set the engine before they actually put it into the vehicles. And I bumped into him, and he actually recognized me, which was kind of cool.
All right.
So we had a bit of a chat and stuff like that. So it was asking who's still around and who's still riding and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, it was actually really cool to see him. Very, very smart man. And those I remember staying at their house when they used to do the Gold Rush, which was a 2-day race meeting back in the day. used to stay at their house and come back and swim in their pool, and yeah, good times. Good times.
So that's about all I got bike-wise. What about you? You're done? That's it?
I'm done. Yeah, look, BMX bikes are pretty awesome, and everybody. It's good. There's so many out there, and I guess it caters to everybody's different flavour, different needs. I'd like to thank everybody that's let me ride their bikes over the years. I know, like I said, it's we're all a bit precious, and you feel trusted if someone says, "Hey, take my bike for a ride and see what you think," and it's good to what are you doing there? You're like all pixelated. It's kind of
Me?
yeah. You like got
Might
yeah.
be my living up in the mountains and the fact that it's
Snowing.
trying to snow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nearly like Christmas time. May as well just put the Christmas tree up now, my friend. Just get it over and done with. Have an Australian white Christmas. But yeah, it looks like you're in the Matrix, my friend.
Is it really pixelating?
Oh, it's like 100%. It's a good special effect. If that's what you're going for, it's working.
Oh, we better call it quits then.
Yeah, cool, man. You go back because your NHL game will be on shortly. So go the Canucks.
Yeah, go to the Canucks. I'm watching Game 6 of the first round, and Canucks just have one more game to win, and they're through.
Nice. You'd be slightly excited about that, maybe more than slightly.
Yeah, I've been waiting a few years for them to get back up to this point, so it's fingers crossed.
You love it. Well, maybe we should talk about your inline hockey days on another one.
Oh God.
The Enforcer. I love it. I saw a different side of you when you played. I give you the hot tip. It was grouse.
It was good.
I think you need to drive home.
Good anger management, that's for sure.
Yeah, and when you told me I need to drive home or you might kill someone, I thought that was quite funny because you're such a quiet guy. But I've just slammed 2 guys into the boards and got put in the sin bin. Well, yeah, you better drive home, Shaun. Get me a chocolate milk and I'll be right.
Was it you that used to tell me I should race my BMX bike with that same kind of anger?
I did say that, yeah.
But now you race against me, so maybe I shouldn't.
No, we don't need that. It's bad enough that you don't wear glasses. Then I can't beat you. All good. Well, yeah, thanks for that. I mean, I'm sure once we turn off record, we'll think about another 10 bikes we would love to ride. But yeah, thanks for that. It was fun.
No worries, mate. Thanks for catch up. I think I might head off and settle into the couch for the next few hours.
Nice. Sounds like a plan. All right. Thanks as always, Shane, and thanks to everybody out there watching this crazy little segment that we're getting going. So cheers from Bendigo.
See you next time.
See ya.
I'd say you next time spell something, doesn't it?